Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hi. We're just sorting out a few technical things out. We'll be with you in a sec. So I think we're ready to go. We're on time. So maybe we'll just wait for another couple of seconds just to let a few more people in, and then we'll get cracking. So thank you very much for joining us. It's absolutely fantastic that we're seeing lots of faces here, lots of people joining us. So it's amazing. So one of the first things that we need to just address is a little bit of housekeeping. So this is going to be recorded. So if anybody doesn't want to be seen, if somebody doesn't want to be on the camera or whatever, then please turn your camera off, because we will be sharing the recording out, and also it will be on YouTube. So if anybody has a little bit of a hiccup to be on camera, then just turn your camera off. And also, please make sure that your mic is on mute. So yeah, let's go ahead. So thank you very much for joining us for this exclusive masterclass, Breathing Through Menopause. We are going to have questions and answers. So if you'd like to leave any questions in the chat box, and then towards the end, like 5-10 minutes, we will be able to answer. Obviously, maybe not all the questions because there's a lot of you, but we will do our best to get at least some of the questions answered. And also do have in mind that we're not doctors. We're not in the medical field. So any questions related to medical issues, we won't be able to answer. So yeah, lovely. Where are you all from? Fantastic. Brilliant. So I'm going to hand you over to Maria.
Hello, everyone. So excited to be here today on this very, very special day, World Menopause Day. And it's really about us women coming together and raising the stigma around menopause. And even though I've never met in person Fleur, we've been working together for the past couple of years. And this subject is very close to both of our hearts, and we are so excited to share some information with you today. And I truly hope that each and every one of you will walk away today with something that you can actually implement into your day-to-day life to ease a little bit those symptoms that are present, regardless of the phase that you are traveling in. It's lovely to see that we have so many countries joining us. Hello, hello. Happy World Menopause Day to everyone. Thank you, thank you. Someone is saying I'm recording this meeting with Meet Geek. No idea what is that, sorry. Okay, good. I think we should crack on. Fleur, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much about who I am, because you've already received the information via email, etc. There was already information there. But I would like to share a little bit my journey with menopause, which is why we're here, really. We're here for menopause. So I had a hysterectomy when I was 31 years old. It wasn't a total hysterectomy, so I've still got my ovaries. But even though my womb was taken out, so it was a partial hysterectomy, I still had subtle changes within my hormones. And as I've gradually got older, obviously, now I'm 54 years old, those subtle symptoms that I was having have got, well, they got gradually worse. Obviously, they got stronger. So I have experienced hot flushes. I've experienced having a little bit more anxiety, having that mental fog where you're talking and suddenly you forget what you're talking about. suddenly that word has gone completely out of your mind and you think, oh my gosh, what was I talking about? What was I saying? How do I even say that word? Or, for instance, you're going to get your car keys, you haven't a clue where you've left them, or even you're looking for your glasses. I'm sorry, I've just seen any way to boost my mic. Is that better? Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Maybe like that?
Yes, it is. It
Right,
is.
brilliant. Okay. So yeah, brain fog, anxiety, hot flashes, aches and pains, memory loss. This is another thing that also happens to us. We have these memory loss. And the other thing that I also noticed a lot was having sleep issues. A lot of it was to do with the hormonal changes, but another issue was with the stress levels. And one of the things that we really have to realize is that our breathing is linked absolutely into all of this. So what I'm trying to get at, I'm getting a little bit confused here with all the chats that keep on popping up. But what I'm trying to get across to you is that we're not coming across just from the theory side, but also because we have been through those hormonal changes. So I'm now 54, and thanks to having this superpower, which is our breath, and understanding the link between the way we breathe in our everyday, the way we breathe no matter what we're doing, the way we breathe at nighttime, is also influencing those menopause symptoms and how I can manage them in a much better way. This is what we really want to bring across to you. So, Maria, now talk a little bit about your journey.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, everyone. And maybe Fleur, share where you joining us from?
I'm in Spain. I am English, but I am in Spain, in Alicante region.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Dobos, and I'm actually connecting from Bali, Indonesia. It's quite late over here. It's 9 o'clock in the evening. And for the past decade, my work has been really focusing on guiding women through hormonal imbalances, hormonal fluctuations, whether they are experiencing these changes in their pre-menopause reproductive phase of their lives, or they are actually transitioning through menopause, perimenopause, and post-menopause. This subject is really close to my heart, as I just said, because I've gone through a pituitary malfunction, which was very similar to going through menopause. And that was like almost 14 years ago. So at the time, it felt like I was hit by a train and I had no idea what is happening to me. And I came across breathing, where nobody was actually talking about breathing, but somehow Patrick's work landed on my screen, and I started to go more deep and started to study and learn about breathing. And at the same time, I've started to deepen my knowledge in Ayurveda, in India, yoga therapy, female hormone yoga therapy, and various practices that have equipped me and empowered me to now guide women through those changes. Fast forward, my mission is to really help women to experience these transitions with less and less symptoms, regardless of, as I said, their phase that they are traveling through. And one of the missing links, as Fleur said as well, is breathing. There is so much out there about diet, lifestyle, what we should and we should not be taking as hormone replacement therapy, which is all great. But what about our breath? The breath that is always with us at all times. So what we're going to do now, we actually have a presentation for you, as you can see on the screen. And as we're going to go through the next slide, we're going to learn more about how hormones actually change during our lifetime as a woman. Now, hormonal fluctuations during menopause really affect everything from mood to lung function. How we breathe through this transition, this time can really, really help manage these changes. Currently, there are 25 million women going through transitioning into menopause yearly. That's a huge, huge amount of number. And 7 to 10 out of 7 to 8 out of 10 haven't got any idea how to go through menopause or how to navigate through these times. So we really need to educate ourselves. We really need to talk more about this. We really need to get the conversation going about menopause and all these transitions. And one extremely big misconception is that menopause means old. Whenever I tell someone about menopause, oh no, that's so far. No. Yes, the average age entering menopause is 51, but by any means, 51 is not old. And menopause is actually a mark on the calendar. It's a diagnosis of 12 consecutive months of not having a menstrual cycle. But menopause is a process of anything between 4 to 7 years. And it can also last up to 14 years. What that actually tells you that it can start as early as 35 or even 40, depending. It depends on many, many, many things. As we can see, and let's go back to basics, because some of you might be joining us saying, okay, what on earth is she talking about? I don't even know what menopause is or what phases she's talking about. I really want to take you through a little bit of the 3 phases of menopause. And as we can see here on the screen, we do have a beautiful graph with hormones, how they actually fluctuate throughout a woman's life. Now, from puberty up to around the age of 35, we are in our reproductive years. And this time in a woman's life is called pre-menopause. So it's before menopause. This is where hormones are stable and we have a regular menstrual cycle. As we approach the age after 35, 40, 42, 43, we start to notice slight changes in our menstrual cycle. What these changes can be: lighter or heavier periods, shorter or longer periods. And this is when we're transitioning into the second phase of menopause, and this is called perimenopause. Perimenopause can last anything from 4 years, 3 years, it can last even 10 years, depending. It can start, as I said, as early as 35. Now, even perimenopause is divided somehow into two phases. The first part is when we notice periods are slightly different, and we start experiencing sleep-related issues. So our sleep pattern is disturbed. And we also start noticing brain fog. What exactly my colleague Fleur has mentioned, our language is being affected. We have that tip of the tongue thing. It's like, I can't remember. I know the word, but I cannot remember it. I cannot say it. And that's so normal. And at some point during this perimenopause, things start to go a little bit more hectic. Our periods start to be 3 to 4 months apart. And this is when we start to experience more symptoms. More symptoms like hot flashes, night sweats, mood changes, irritability, and that brain fog increases even more. 62% of women are experiencing brain fog. It's like you have no control over the outcome of something. It really impacts our memory, our focus, our concentration. And it's a very challenging time for women. Women are somehow misunderstood. We always call that we are hormonal. We are hysterical. We are unable to control what is happening within us. And everything is just happening in our head. And we feel ashamed about it. And sometimes we just don't want to share what we feel, but it's normal. I've been through that. And I'm going through perimenopause now for the second time. And I know there is still a lot of stigma around it. And I'm so pleased to have these conversations and sharing how we're navigating through these challenging times. And as a side note, being hysterical, hysteria is actually originating from the word hystera in Greek. And the first record of this word was back in the 1900s BCE. And Egyptians actually recorded behavioral abnormalities in adult women. So this actually meant that adult women had these disturbances, and they actually accredited to a wandering uterus. They kind of knew there is something happening in a woman's body, but they didn't actually know what exactly. So they started to administer women all kind of medication to actually bring back the uterus to its right position. Now, all the symptoms that we actually experience during perimenopause, menopause, they don't start in the ovaries, they actually start in our brain. They are neurological symptoms. Our brain and the ovaries are part of the neuroendocrine system. And estrogen is not only in charge or helping us with reproduction, but also with brain function. So no wonder once we start to go into the second phase of perimenopause, things are starting to feel so out of control. And it's normal. Yes, we are hormonal, but we should not have this label the way it is nowadays. And we shouldn't feel ashamed about what we're going through, because this is such a natural phase in any woman's life who's got ovaries or have had ovaries. Going further, as we transition from premenopause to perimenopause, we go through the second stage of perimenopause, where things really get hectic. This is where our breathing is also getting a little bit out of control. Progesterone drops, and this is when we start to experience a lot of anxiety. Very simple things like, I remember 14 years ago, like driving, I was like panicking. I used to have these panic attacks, like literally something that I could just do so automatically, I was unable to do. And I was driving myself crazy. What on earth is happening to me? And very simple things. We question ourselves, we question our ability, and we lose confidence in what we can and we cannot do. Things that we have done for years and years and years. So if you are experiencing all this, it's normal. But it's time to talk about it. It's time to share. It's time to connect and create a very supportive community around you. That's so crucial, to share what you're going through. And the second phase of perimenopause, because then I'm going to go off track and I will be talking here and I'm going to get kicked out most probably because we go over time. The second phase of perimenopause can last 3 to 4 years. And then we get to a point where our cycle will just stop. And after 12 consecutive months, we mark on the calendar menopause. And this is when we enter post-menopause. For the rest of our life, we are post-menopausal. This is our power phase. This is really the time to, I feel a lot of women need to reinvent themselves. This is the time to really step into the wise woman role and just live your life and enjoy it. And make sure you are looking after yourself. Because this is a time where we are also facing a lot of health risk. Low estrogen will bring about increased risk for osteoporosis, heart conditions, and also high cholesterol. So it's important that we have the right tools in our toolbox to feel a smoother transition. It's an adaptation period. 3-4 years after entering menopause, we'll adapt and things will be a lot smoother. But the key is to have the prevention work during perimenopause. And that will have a major impact. What happens to you when you are in postmenopause? So educating ourselves to make the right choices, the best choices, to transition smoother in this time is so, so, so important. And awareness is key. Awareness is key. And one thing that you have with yourself is your breath. One thing that's always with you, regardless of where you are, regardless of what's happening with you, it's your breath. And we are here today because we really want to make you understand that learning how to use your breath to your advantage can change your physiology, can improve a lot of the symptoms that women experience during these hormonal changes. And working with women for the past decade, with all kind of hormonal imbalances, I've seen time and time over again how much just by learning how to breathe has improved their condition. And this is not textbook. This is my own experience working with these women. And I'm sure Fleur will confirm the same thing. And being aware of what's happening within the body starts with awareness. So as we go through the next slide, I just want to quickly ask a quick question. Where do you feel you are falling into which phase? Are you in premenopause? Are you in perimenopause? Or are you in postmenopause? Where do you feel that you are falling into? Would love to see that in the chat. Oh my God, so many post. And another thing, some women experience a lot of symptoms that are like 30 odd symptoms. And some women, they don't experience any. And that's amazing. Just be grateful for that, because not all of us are so lucky to not have those symptoms. So we have a lot of postmenopausal, yes, and peri. Okay, so it's quite mixed. That's good. That's good. So hormonal shifts do impact the way we breathe. We know that from the time we have a menstrual cycle and we enter in our luteal phase, which is just the phase before the bleeding time, progesterone kicking in really stimulates breathing. So we tend to hyperventilate. As progesterone goes down, estrogen goes down again, we start to have an impact on the way we breathe, and also we become more anxious. Now, 40%, up to 40% of women experience changes in respiratory control during their transition, during their perimenopause. due to all these hormonal shifts. Nearly 50% of women report shortness of breath. That's a very, very big number, and nobody's really talking about that. 50% chronic stress during menopause. Slow, deep breathing can reduce hot flashes by 44%. So as we can see, breathing, it is a tool that can help us. But learning how to breathe is, again, very, very important. And moving forward, as I was saying, awareness is key. We're going to go through a breathing assessment, and I invite you just to find a comfortable position. I invite you, for the time being, just leave the chat on the side, and once we come back to it, then we can resume asking questions, posting questions. If you're driving, please do stop, pull aside. And if you are operating any heavy machinery, do the same. So if you're not sitting, please do sit down, just to make it more simple for everyone to understand. And I kindly invite you to set aside and leave aside anything you know about how you should be breathing. Just leave aside and really connect with yourself, really be here without changing the way you breathe. And in order to connect even better, and if it feels good, I invite you to gently close your eyes or have your gaze downwards and really commit to be here for a couple of minutes to connect with yourself. And again, just remember to let go of any preconceived ideas of how your breath should be, how you should be breathing. And just start noticing the breath as you breathe, how it feels. Does it actually feel satisfying? Do you feel your breathing right now? It's easy, or is it more with an effort? Is your breathing heavy, or maybe you feel at some places it's restricted? Like really tune in with yourself. Really feel the air as it entering your body, as it leaves your body. Observe it, feel it. And now let's look at the rhythm of your breath. Is your breathing smooth? Is it equal, regular? Notice how every inhale is. Is it equal in length, in depth, in speed? Equal exhales. Do not change the way you breathe. Just observe. Or you might notice your breathing sometimes. One inhale is being smaller, the other one being larger, longer, faster, slower. Perhaps sometimes you find that you are stopping and you do not breathe. You might also notice when you resume breathing, you intake a large amount of air into the lungs. You might notice that you sigh a lot, you yawn. Please continue to observe the way you breathe without interfering. And now notice, do you breathe in through your nose or through your mouth? Notice your upper body. What's moving? Do you feel you are slumped, rounded back? Is your head forward? Do you feel like something is pulling you forward and downwards? Notice your upper abdomen folding over your lower abdomen. Notice the tongue position in your mouth. Where is it? And now we're gonna imagine there is a string attached to the top of your head that's pulling you gently upward towards the sky, lengthening your spine, creating space between your ribcage, closing your mouth. Your lips are sealed and your tongue is resting on the roof of your mouth. 3/4 of the tongue is sealed to the roof of your mouth, resting slightly behind your front teeth, not pushing them. Allowing your shoulders to release any tension, opening your chest, but being mindful of not overarching. And now bring your attention to your nostrils and notice how the air enters your body on the inhale and then leaves your body on the exhale. I really invite you to feel the sensation of air touching your nostrils. And you might be feeling as you breathe in the air being cooler, and as you breathe out, the air being warmer. Continue to watch your breath, continue to feel your breath, and allowing it to slow down with every exhale. And as you allow the breath to slow down its speed, you breathe light, slow, deep, increasing oxygen delivery to the cells, to the tissues. And you might also start feeling a slight air hunger, a need for air, and that's all good. Continue to allow your breath to slow down, to relax. And as the breath slows down, the body slows down, relaxes, lets go of any tension. And as the body relaxes, the mind relaxes. And if you find your mind wandering, just bring back your attention upon your breathing and feel your breath slowing down even more. Every inhale is of the same length, speed, depth, and every exhale is gentle, slow. On your next inhale, without increasing the volume of air, I invite you to breathe deep into your lungs. So you start feeling the movement of your lower ribs as they gently push outward. And as you exhale, they will move inward. And as you inhale, they gently move outward. And as you exhale, they move inward. And at the same time as you inhale, the tummy is moving outward. And as you exhale, pulls back towards your spine, ensuring that on the inhale, the abdomen moves forward, outward, and as you exhale, comes back towards the spine. Continue to breathe light, but slow and deep. This way you increase oxygen uptake in the blood, in the lungs. Continue to keep the spine tall, allowing your shoulders, chest to become stiller. There's no movement in your chest area, in your shoulders. And invite movement in your lower ribs area, feeling lateral movement as you inhale. Feel the tummy also moving outward on every inhale and inward on every exhale. Light, slow, deep, through the nose, and allow a very relaxed breath out through the nose. Continue to relax with every breath you take. And just feel your breath becoming lighter, slower, deeper. Saliva is increasing in your mouth. Your hands, fingers, toes becoming warmer as biochemistry is right. Circulation is optimal, which will allow oxygen delivery to the cells, tissues, to the brain. And then gently, whenever you feel ready, come back, slowly opening your eyes. And just notice how you can change the way you feel only in a couple of minutes. And hopefully I didn't bore you too much. And I think I gone a little bit over time. Fleur, I'm gonna let you continue with the next slide.
I think everybody is super relaxed now. I could see everybody here sort of like tending to have a little nod off. So we've had a lot of information here from Maria. She's been telling us a little bit about the hormonal changes that we go through. She's been explaining about those symptoms that we can go through. One of the other symptoms that we can also have, and this is also related if we've had a surgery. So for instance, like from my experience from the hysterectomy, is that we also can have pelvic pain. We can have problems with adhesions from the scar tissue. And so it's also interesting to have that in mind, that if we have scar tissues, if we might have adhesions, this also might be creating tension on the diaphragm, and the diaphragm is our major breathing muscle. So also posture is very important. To be mindful, as Maria was guiding us through this little exercise that we've just done, to be mindful of our posture, of sitting up straighter, but also to have this in mind when we're walking as well, when we're standing, to always be mindful of our posture. So here we're going to go into a little bit about sleep. And sleep is a big issue with the menopause transition. How many of us wake up in the middle of the night, we're hot, so we take off the covers, and then we get cold, and then the covers back on, and then the covers are off. We get up, we're all hot and flustered, we even open the window, half of our body is out of the window, we're feeling sort of like we're like on fire, or that we've just been put into a oven and we're like, oh my God, you know, I can't cope with this, it's just too hot. Or we might get up to have to go to the toilet, to go and have a pee various times a night. Or we might be having aches and pains. Or we might even find it difficult to get to sleep because we have that racing mind, continuous racing mind. Or we might go to sleep, but then sort of like at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, we wake up and we can't get back to sleep. So we have to have in mind that it's not only the hormonal changes that are interfering with our thermostat, but it's also the stress. Our stress levels are also going to be influencing our sleep. Our stress levels are also going to influence. Our stress levels are also going to influence how we can cope with those hot flashes. Our stress is also going to influence if we have a racing mind, or if we wake up in the middle of the night and we can't get back to sleep, or we find it difficult to get to sleep. So sleep disturbances, including insomnia, fragmented sleep, and sleep apnea are common during menopause and can worsen due to night sweats and hot flashes, further disrupting sleep cycles. Sleep is so important. We need to wake up in the morning and feel refreshed. We need to wake up in the morning and feel full of energy. But sleep is also very important because our brain is also going through a cleansing, let's call it a cleansing moment. And also all that information that we take in during the day is being put into the little areas, and our memory is compacted during our sleep phase. So sleep is extremely important. But one of the major issues that we can start having is sleep obstructive apnea. And many women start snoring at night time. And we just think that this is just, you know, something funny to laugh about. Normally, you know, whenever I'm doing a group class or anything and I start mentioning about snoring, you know, we get a few chuckles here, a few chuckles there. You know, normally it's the women that look at the men, but sometimes the men turn around and, you know, look at the wife or whatever and say, oh, you know, that's you. And normally people joke about it, but actually snoring is not something really we should be joking about, because it's like our first alarm that we should be really taking into an account. And snoring, if we don't address snoring, it can then go into obstructive sleep apnea. And obstructive sleep apnea is when we stop breathing during the night. So it's when we do those little apneas. And depending on the amount of apneas that we do, then it can be either mild, moderate, or severe. But if it becomes severe, then we can start having more serious issues like heart issues, high blood pressure, etc. So if somebody is snoring, we really have to see what's happening. If they're snoring, this means that there is an obstruction in the airway. Now, Maria mentioned about the tongue. The tongue is extremely important, and our tongue should be resting on the roof of the mouth. If we can't rest our tongue on the roof of the mouth, well, we might be having an anatomical issue that's not allowing the tongue to go on the roof of the mouth. So if right now, if you just take a moment and take note, where is your tongue in your mouth? Okay, many of you might say it's at the bottom, or it's in the middle, or it's on the roof of the mouth. Now open your mouth. When you open your mouth, what happens with your tongue? It falls down. And what happens if you open your mouth and you put your head slightly back? The tongue comes down and it can fall slightly back into the throat area. So this is what can happen at night time. But why do women start developing sleep apnea as well? And why do we start having these issues with snoring? Because the hormones are having all these effects on us. So for instance, when we don't have so much progesterone, we don't have so much estrogen, we can start putting on weight. And one of the areas where we start putting on weight is around the throat and around the tongue and around the diaphragm. So again, we have to take in mind, how is my position? How is my posture? How is my tongue position? And to take into account that I might be having a little bit more fatty tissue around these areas. When we take HRT, if we take HRT, yes, it can help with all these menopausal symptoms that we might be having, but the way we breathe during the day, the way we breathe at nighttime is going to influence how we manage with all these symptoms. And when it comes to snoring, it's really, really important that we have our mouth closed, that we are breathing in a smooth way, that we're breathing in a light, slow, deep way, like Maria has just told us about, that we have a good tongue position, that our tongue is resting on the roof of our mouth, but we also have good sleeping habits. So it's not just a question of, if I take HRT or if I sort out my breathing, then I can go to bed, having loads of alcohol, or I can go to bed really late at night, etc., etc. But we also have to have that, change those habits, because we have to become more mindful. We have to become more aware of our triggers, what affects us. So 60% of menopausal women experience sleep disturbances, which can last up to 7 years. But many, many women actually can have sleep disturbances forever after, because it's not only down to the menopause, it's also down to how are we breathing, and how are we breathing in our everyday life. We mustn't forget that the way we breathe is going to influence our stress response. And our stress response is also going to influence whether we have a stronger breath, whether we have a shallow breath, whether we feel air hunger, whether we feel that we can't get enough air, whether we need to open our mouth to breathe, whether we, when we go up a flight of steps, we feel fatigued very easily. So the way we breathe in our everyday life is going to affect how we breathe at nighttime. And how we breathe at nighttime is also going to influence our autonomic nervous system. It's going to keep us in a fight-flight response, or it's going to keep us in a relaxed digest response. So if during the night we're having a rapid breath, if we are breathing through our mouth, if we're having a shallow breath, we will be sending signals to our autonomic nervous system to stay in that fight-flight response. So then that's when we can't get back to sleep, when we wake up and we can't get back to sleep. We've got a racing mind that's continuously going round and round and round and round. And the other thing is as well, is if I am breathing through my mouth, if I am having a faster breath, I am going to be creating a restriction to my airway. So then my air will not be able to flow properly. And this will be also linking back in to that stress response. And it's really, really important to have that obstructive sleep apnea is an issue with women. During our younger years, it's normally the men that have more of a percentage to have sleep apnea, sleep obstructive apnea. But as we grow older, as we get up over 40, onwards, 50 years onwards, we can start having twice or even 3 times as much probability to develop sleep apnea. So there's many women that don't realize that they start snoring, that they have heavy breathing, and that they can even develop sleep apnea. It's something that we have to be very attentive to. And one of the most important things is to reduce the volume of air that we are breathing. So to breathe in a lighter way, in a softer way, in a gentle way, in a deeper way. But when we say a deeper way, it doesn't mean that we are taking bigger breaths. Many people think that taking a big breath means to take a big intake of air. But a deep breath means that the air will go down to the lower lobes of the lungs. And by this, we need to have a smooth breath. So one of the exercises that we can do is to place your finger just underneath your nose. And all I want you to do, I don't want you to change your breathing whatsoever. You just breathe in your normal way. All I want you to do is to place your finger underneath your nose and to focus on the air that's coming past your finger into your nose and that's coming out of your nose onto your finger. So just feel this air. The air that's coming in and out of your nose onto your finger. Can you feel the colder air that's moving into your nose? And can you feel the warmer air that's coming out of your nose? Just bring your attention onto your finger. You don't have to change your breathing. You're just noticing the air coming in and out of your nose. Now what I would like you to do is to slowly make your breathing a little bit more gentle, a little bit more smoother. So you want the airflow to be smoother, to be more gentle. Make it so gentle that you can hardly feel any air on your finger. Just do it gently, just slowly. A small inhale and a relaxed, prolonged exhale. Always bringing your mind back onto your finger. If your mind wanders off, which it will do, you just bring it back to your finger. And all we want to do is just smooth that air that you're feeling on your finger. All we have to do is just reduce that airflow that's coming in and out onto our finger. And now imagine that your finger is a feather. So you want to reduce even more the airflow. You want to make it smoother. You want to make it more gentle. You don't want to move the feather. You might get to a point where you feel that you want to take a bigger intake of air. That's good. That's where we want to get to. Just smooth the inflow of air and smooth the exhale. We want to reduce the inhale and we want to reduce the exhale. We want to make our breathing lighter and smoother. If your mind wanders, you just bring it back to your finger. I'm not going to take you into a deep process with this exercise because we can go to where we feel that we have air hunger. But because I don't know your history, I don't know your background, I don't know your symptoms, we just need to do it in a very gentle way. But this exercise is really good because it helps us also to focus. Because one of the things that we have when we're in that chronic stress mode is that our mind is overactive. If our mind is overactive, we won't be able to have good memory, we won't be able to keep focus, we won't be able to concentrate. So we also need to help our mind to come into the now. So by bringing our attention onto our finger, by slowing down and reducing the rate of our inflow, we're also helping our mind, we're also helping our breath. This is one of the exercises that we can do when we're preparing to go to bed, for instance. So many of you might think, okay, what can I do when I want to go to bed? Okay, so when we want to go to bed, we also need to reduce our stress levels. So we need to reduce our stress levels by not watching so much TV, by not watching any nasty news, by being mindful of what we eat or what we drink, also of the conversations that we might be having, but also it's a good time to be able to bring a bit of attention to me, a bit of attention to ourselves. So we can do this by bringing our finger just underneath our nose and bringing our attention of our breath. How is that airflow? Is it really hard? Is it really fast? Then just make it more gentle, make it slower, make it smoother. And by that way, our rhythm of our breath is also going to calm down and we're going to come into a relaxed state.
Be like 4:10, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, because I'm not going to be there till 5:30, so take me about 45 minutes, won't
Yeah.
it?
Okay.
Sorry, we're hearing your conversation. If you'd like to just share the next slide, and then we'll be finishing off. So yeah, well, we talked a little bit about sleep disordered breathing. You know, there's that insomnia, that's that. If you can go back a minute. Yeah, and then, okay, forward, yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, brilliant, thank you. So we've talked a little bit about the obstructive sleep apnea, which is something that we really need to be mindful of. So first of all, if there's any snoring, if we have any heavy breathing, if we are breathing through our mouth, this can be creating a restriction to our breathing. This is going to influence on how we are breathing during the night, and also if we are still in that sympathetic fight-flight mode. So therefore, our brain is also going to be overreactive. But it's also really, really important to have a balance between our biochemical aspect of breathing. So that's also the relationship we have with carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide that we produce within our body, not the carbon dioxide outside. You know, a lot of talk about the climate change, but no, we're not talking about that carbon dioxide. But also, when we have a better adjustment with the biochemistry aspect of breathing, so when we're breathing lighter and we're breathing through our nose, we automatically will breathe lower. So this will be with a good implication of the diaphragm. We will be having a better ventilation. We will be having a better gas exchange, but also we will be having a better oxygen delivery to our cells. And also the cadence of our breathing, the rhythm of our breathing will also be much slower and much more physiological. So we want to be breathing light, low, and slow. One of the major aspects in menopause is anxiety. Deep breathing techniques can improve the sleep. We can reduce that stress. We can improve oxygenation. We can improve our breathing, our everyday breathing. But for this, we also need to change the habit. So we need to do the exercises, not just once a day or once in a while, or when I feel anxious or when I have a hot flash. No, we have to implement exercises, breathing exercises into our daily life. They're very simple exercises. They're very practical exercises because we need to change that habit component. So we have a powerhouse. We can access our breathing permanently, but it's not only, as I just said before, it's not only accessing the exercise when I'm feeling out of balance, but how I can optimize my breathing pattern so I don't come out of balance so often. Okay, we have external circumstances that will be affecting us. We have those hormonal imbalances that will be affecting us. But if we think of our breathing like a wheel, and our breathing is the axis of the wheel, if the axis of the wheel is optimal, the rest of our bodily functions will also be in a much more optimal situation. So we will be having less symptoms. We will be able to manage our symptoms in a much better way. We will be able to have better sleep. We will have less anxiety. We will have a more balanced autonomic nervous system. Therefore, we won't be in that permanent chronic stress phase. So we will have a better balance of the autonomic nervous system. Our hot flashes will also be lessened because they are influenced by that chronic stress state. Our anxiety is influenced by that chronic stress state. Our cortisol is also influenced by that chronic stress state. Our sleep is also influenced. So if we can improve our breathing patterns, if we can optimize our breathing, all these symptoms will lessen independently of whether we take HRT or not. HRT is not the absolute solution of everything. We also need to be aware of and access that powerhouse that we have within. So let's just do another little exercise, which is small breath holds. So all I want you to do is to be in that position that Maria told us to get into, that asked us to get into, which was to be in a nice sitting position, as if we have a piece of string that's pulling us from the top of the head up towards the ceiling. So we have a good space between our ribs and our hips. So we're giving a good space for our diaphragm. We don't want to feel any tension. And I don't want you to change your breathing whatsoever. You just have your normal breathing pattern. Okay, so no bigger breaths, no deeper breaths, just your normal breathing pattern. All I want you to do is to be breathing through your nose. And every now and again, I will say, take a normal breath in, a normal breath out, and without any air, I want you to pinch your nose with your fingers. I will count to 3, and then you'll let go, and you'll continue breathing in and out through your nose in a normal and natural way. You'll breathe 2-3 times. I will be talking, and then I'll say once again, normal breath in, normal breath out. Pinch your nose closed, 1, 2, 3, and we'll continue for a few minutes. We always do the breath hold, the little breath hold, after the exhalation. So it's a normal breath in, normal breath out, without any air. Pinch your nose closed, and I will count to 3. This is called small breath holds. We can do it up to counting to 5, but I'm only going to do it up to 3 because I don't know your backgrounds. I don't know where you're at. Okay, so you're all breathing through your nose. So when you're ready, take a normal breath in, normal breath out, without any air. Pinch your nose closed. 1, 2, 3, let go, and continue breathing in and out through your nose in a normal and natural way. No need to change your breathing whatsoever. Just continue breathing in and out through your nose in a normal and natural way. Once again, normal breath in, normal breath out. Pinch your nose closed. 1, 2, 3, let go, and continue breathing in and out in your normal way. Continue breathing, and I will be talking with you. I will be explaining a few things. You just have to follow what I'm saying. Once again, normal breath in, normal breath out. Pinch your nose closed. 1, 2, 3, let go, and continue breathing normally. While we're doing this exercise, you are having more oxygen delivery to your cells. We're allowing the carbon dioxide to increase in our system. With each retention, we're having like a little dosage of carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide is allowing the hemoglobin to release oxygen to our cells, and that is where we want the oxygen, in our cells, in our organs, our tissues, etc. Once again, normal breath in, normal breath out. Pinch your nose closed. 1, 2, 3, let go, and continue breathing in a natural way, in and out through your nose. This exercise is extremely good to stop panic attacks. When we're having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, we can't control our breathing, but what we can do is every now and again, just take a breath in, breath out, pinch your nose closed, count to 3, let go, and breathe through our nose once again. And we repeat this, and it can stop a panic attack, an anxiety attack. So once again, breath in, breath out, pinch your nose closed, 1, 2, 3, let go, and continue breathing in and out through your nose in a normal, natural way. We always need to do a little bit of a rest time in between the retention, so like 2 to 3 breaths. And then once again, we do the retention once again. Again, normal breath in, normal breath out, pinch your nose closed, 1, 2, 3, let go, and continue breathing in and out through your nose. I'm only counting up to 3. I don't know your backgrounds. I don't know where you're at with your symptoms, with menopause, etc. If you're feeling comfortable with 3, you can go up to 4 and even 5. Once again, normal breath in, normal breath out, pinch your nose closed, 1, 2, 3, let go, and continue breathing in and out through your nose. If you have asthma also can get worse when we're having menopause symptoms, because that stress that we're feeling can make us have a harder breath to breathe through our mouth, so that can make our asthma even worse. So doing this little exercise can also help our asthma symptoms. It can also stop an asthma attack. So once again, normal breath in, normal breath out, pinch your nose closed, 1, 2, 3, let go, and continue breathing in and out through your nose in a normal and natural way. So with these exercises, it's always to have like a base on how do we know how many times to do these exercises. So for instance, we can practice, say, 5 minutes, 3 times a day. But the more we practice, remember that we've got that habit, that implication of that habit. And if we're in a chronic stress response, we want to come out of that chronic stress response. So all the time that we are sending reminders to our respiratory system, to our brain system, because our respiratory system and our brain, our autonomic nervous system, are in permanent contact. And so if we do these exercises, say for 5 minutes, every so often during the day, we will be sending reminders to our breathing system, but also to our autonomic nervous system, to our brain, to stay in a much calmer situation. And as we do this gradually over the days, we will be creating a new habit. So let's say a minimum of 3 times a day, but I mean, as many times as you like to do, and for at least 5 minutes each time you do the exercise. So as you see, we've only done for a few minutes this little breathing exercise with the small breath holds. It's very easy to do. So you can have a think, where could I do this exercise? You can actually do it in the car, when you're driving. If you're driving on, where you don't have to keep on changing gear a lot, you can do it when you're driving, because all you have to do is every now and again, take a normal breath in, normal breath out, pinch your nose closed, 1, 2, 3, let go, you're continuing driving, etc. Or when you sit in the car, before you start the car, you can do 5 minutes. It will help you come into a relaxed state, because these little breath holds activates the parasympathetic system, relax, digest. It helps us come back into that calmness. So even when we're going to drive, if you have, like Maria mentioned, that anxiety for driving, that actually happened to me. I love driving. In my family, I have, my grandparents were actually pilots. No, not pilots. They used to do racing with Bugattis. And I think I've got that a little bit in my blood. So I love driving. But I went through a phase where I was scared to drive, and especially on motorways with lorries, with lots of traffic. So this is an exercise, for instance, if this is happening to one of you. When you get in the car, small breath holds, come into that relaxed state. When I get out of my car, when I'm waiting for the coffee to make, when I'm going to go into a meeting, if I'm feeling anxious, small breath holds. Before I go to sleep, I can do the small breath holds, or I could do the feather breathing, or I can do the exercise that Maria showed us, just to bring that consciousness to our breath, to relax into our breath. So to repeat it various times a day, that is the key. So anyway, it's 1:15, and we want to leave a little bit of information or a little bit of time for the questions that we might have. So Maria, if you want to take over.
Thank you so much, Fleur. That was really, really insightful and packed with so much information. And as Fleur said, consistency, it's so important. It's like brushing our teeth. We don't do that once a month. We do that daily. We shower, we wash ourselves the same. We have to do that with our breathing. We have to check in with ourselves what's happening, because sometimes we notice what's happening with us when things are a little bit too deep in the dark side. So checking with yourself, and breathing is really your anchor that brings you into the present moment, brings you into the body. When you connect with your breath, you actually notice what's happening. You can change your physiology. You can change the emotions that are present, and really go to the root cause of why am I feeling the way I'm feeling. And it's important to equip ourselves with the right tools, with the right toolbox in order to navigate through these times. And breathing is really one thing that you always have with you, whether you are on hormone replacement therapy, whether you are on any other medication, patches, and so on and so on. Breathing is something that will help you. The way you breathe during the day will have a major impact the way you breathe through the night. And then it will have an impact the way you feel when you wake up, as Fleur was saying. So really take advantage of this superpower that we all have, and practice, 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 practice. We're gonna be answering some questions. I mean, do you have, Fleur, the questions, or how do we get the questions? Neve, anyone? Can you unmute yourself, Fleur?
Yes, that would help, wouldn't it? There you are,
Yeah.
a quick menopause
Yeah.
moment there.
Let's take few questions. I know we are over time, so we do apologize, but we're going to take a couple of questions, and then you can always get in touch with us. You will have all our details. Please feel free to message us, email us, and we will serve you. We will help you. We will guide you the best that we can, and if we can, in whatever way we can. Fleur?
Hi, Maria and Fleur. We have some questions in chat, and Ellen here has her hand up as well, ready, waiting to ask a question. So you can have a look through the chat, and if anybody wants to put their hand up to ask a question, you can pop your hand up and get ready to ask Maria and Fleur your questions. Okay.
Thank you. Hi, Ellen.
Hi. My question has to do with and concentrating on my breath and just starting to take more deep, slow breaths. Sometimes I get very warm, almost like a hot flash. Is that something common, or am I doing it right? I don't even know what's going on when that happens.
Well, it's quite difficult to answer that without seeing how you breathe, without noticing how we actually take this breath, what's the posture, how much movement there is in the body. So it's quite difficult to answer to that. Fleur, if you have, where are you? Oh, is there? Okay.
Well, one of the things that come to mind is maybe you're restricting your breathing. So when you're bringing, a lot of the times that happens when we focus on our breathing, if we have a tendency to want to control our breathing, it becomes a tension. So then it can become like a stress response from that tension that we might be creating. So what I maybe would suggest, but then again, it is very difficult to be able to answer your question without seeing you, without knowing how you're, what's happening whilst you're doing this. But it might be that you are trying to control too much, and that trying to control too much is creating, like, you're beginning to feel a little bit tense. But then on the other hand, it could be as well that when we have a better breathing pattern and we're having optimal oxygenation, we also have, when we have better oxygen delivery, we also have vasodilation. So we're also having better blood circulation. So when we're having better blood circulation, we can feel a little bit more warmth. So yeah, it would be something that we would have to sort of like ask a little bit more specifically to know whether it's the vasodilation, so you're having a little bit more warmth, or is it going into a stress response?
Thank you. That's helpful so that I can pay attention to whether I'm trying to control it too much.
Yeah. One of the things to always have in mind, and especially with any exercise that we're doing, is, for instance, notice the amount of saliva in our mouth. So if we have more saliva in our mouth, that means that we are activating the parasympathetic, relax, digest system. If we have less saliva in our mouth, that means that we are activating the stress response. So maybe that's something that you can have in mind as well.
That sounds like a very good cue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we have 3 ladies hands up, and I think that's where we can conclude with the questions and answers, because we are going to go a little bit too over. Sweta, would you unmute yourself? Hi.
Yes, I just did. Hi. So thank you so much for the knowledge, for the information that you guys shared. I quickly wanted to ask, because I have practiced some amount of pranayam earlier, the Indian yogic breathing practices, where there is a restriction saying that you should not do it, within a couple of hours of having your meal. So is there any such restriction on these breathing exercises, or can we do it like right after meal, or yeah,
The ones
like
that
on
we
full stomach?
Yeah, the ones that we have been practicing now, they're very gentle exercises. If we were going to be doing more profound exercises, or for instance, stronger breath holds, then yes, we would advise that there is at least an hour or something like that where we don't have a full stomach, and also because the digestive system is in full action. But for those people that might have actually problems with their digestion, we can practice, for instance, the small breath holds, we can practice before we eat. So that is going to get us prepared to help with the digestion, because we will be activating the parasympathetic. So then we will be able to digest our food even better. And also it's good because then we go to, for instance, like to eating in a more relaxed state rather than all this rush. But yeah, it's taking in a little bit of like common sense. So if we're going to do something stronger, then we have to let our digestive system do what it needs to do before we do anything stressful. But these exercises we've shared is apt for absolutely everybody.
Yeah, thanks for that answer. That gives a lot of clarity. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Rita?
So we're gonna, Rita?
Okay, thank you for this beautiful presentation. This is amazing. So happy World Menopause Day to everyone. So we talked a lot about relaxing techniques. What if you feel fatigue and you want some energizing technique? What's your favorite one?
Well, from my point of view, when we do feel fatigued, it's because we actually are tired. We haven't had the good night's sleep, and waking up in the morning and feeling fatigued, that actually will not really help us to do energizing exercises when the body and the brain really requires us to go into that restorative state where we heal, restore, clean, digest, rest. That's my point of view, and that's my take on it. I mean, I would not advise someone to start doing these active exercises unless your nervous system is balanced, you woke up quite okay, feeling okay. But if someone is feeling too fatigued, that's actually a sign that you really need to pay attention to yourself. You might be in a low stress level continuously. Hormonal imbalances might be playing up. So it's key to actually bring that balance back first before we actually really hype ourselves and really like get all going.
Okay, thank you. And Maria, your email, is it Ymail or is that a typo? It's supposed to be Gmail.
No, my email is actually Ymail. It's a Yahoo mail, but at the time, I think somebody already had that with my name, so I couldn't. So yes, I always say that it's a Ymail, not a Gmail. Thank you for clarifying that. And we're gonna take two more. So it's Kat and Madhavi. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Whoever wants to come first, just unmute, please.
Yeah, hi, this is Madhavi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for these relaxing exercises. Actually, I also have this problem whenever I'm like in a crowd, the breathing is not like kind of normal or functional. I also have these programs a lot where I get too much exertion and then ended up losing weight. So I was just thinking what can be helpful for gaining the weight and staying like normal breath in the crowd.
Well, in terms of weight related question, I'm not really specialized to answer that. But when it comes to when it comes to feeling anxious and feeling nervous in a crowd, it's really becoming a little bit aware of what's happening with us. Maybe also identifying what is the root cause of feeling like that when we are in a crowd. So maybe that's with a specialist, a therapist, really focusing on that. And of course, breathing exercises can actually help us calm the system and really calming the breath that will actually activate the parasympathetic nervous system, as Fleur said, and really bring us into a more relaxed. And relaxed, that doesn't mean that, oh my God, I want to go to sleep. That doesn't mean being in a parasympathetic state, it doesn't necessarily mean that I want to go to sleep. You have more clarity, you are more present in what you're doing. Fleur, if you want to add anything to that.
No, that's very well answered. Thank you there.
Yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. And we're gonna conclude with Kat. Please unmute.
Hey, thank you for
Hi.
sharing all your knowledge. I have a question. So it's often recommended to ask a doctor before you start mouth taping, but my bet is that a lot of doctors haven't ever heard about mouth taping and why you should do it. And my question is, what should I watch? What exactly should I ask the doctor, or what is the doctor watching out for? Like, what would be a contraindication to mouth taping?
Fleur?
Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was breaking up a little bit there for me. I don't know if for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But it's
Should I repeat?
No.
No, I think what's the contraindications with mouth taping?
Yeah, and what to ask the doctor, because I guess most doctors maybe haven't ever heard about it. Yeah.
Well, with mouth taping, one of the most important things we have to first of all see is if we can breathe properly through our nose. So we have to make sure that the airway of the nose is open, so there's airflow, and also to make sure that there isn't any obstructive sleep apnea or severe obstructive sleep apnea. So one of the questions that I would put across to you was, why does your father want to put tape over his mouth? Is it because he's mouth breathing?
It's my mom, and she's mouth breathing and snoring and sometimes stopping to breathe during the night.
Okay,
she has this head. Yeah.
Okay, so then she also has sleep apnea, so she's stopping breathing. So first of all, really, she would really need to see whether the airflow is okay, and also to see if she has mild sleep apnea or severe sleep apnea, to do a sleep study. And then depending on the study and depending on why she is doing that, whether it's just because she has a mouth breathing habit, and also if she's doing this, she will have a dysfunctional breathing pattern, so she needs to retrain her breathing as well. So this is really important, this is key. Then to see whether it is possible for her to have the mouth tape. And when we talk about the mouth tape, we always talk about the tape that goes around the mouth, not the tape that goes across.
Okay.
But it would be interesting in the case of your mother to first of all have a good evaluation to see whether the air is flowing through, whether there isn't an obstruction, and what is happening with that sleep apnea.
Okay, so she should go to a sleep laboratory or something like that. Okay, then I'm going to recommend that to her, because she was thinking about it, and I was like, I'm not sure if it's a good idea to just do it.
Yeah, but it would also be advisable to speak to a breathing instructor, a certified breathing instructor, to also help her with her breathing habits, her breathing patterns, because even though the mouth is closed,
yes,
the breathing pattern, the breathing habit has to be addressed.
Yes. Yeah, I'm starting the training next week, so.
Oh, there you are. You have your first case. Yes.
You're in the right place.
Yeah. Talking of training, could we just quickly ask, is this the training that you've given today, is this Oxygen Advantage rather than the Butaco?
Butaco.
Yeah, Butaco.
What we've done here is based on the Butaco, and the Oxygen Advantage is also based on the Butaco. We haven't done any Oxygen Advantage advanced exercises. So it's both. It's both, because the Oxygen Advantage, the base does come from Butaco.
okay.
Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining us, and just remember you're not alone, regardless of the transition phase you are in. Feel free to reach out to Fleur, to myself, to Oxygen Advantage, to Buteiko, and thank you team for helping us with all the answering and managing all this, and we look forward to connect with you, and there will be a recording going out. And Fleur, if you want to add anything before we...
Yeah, well, one of the main things that, you know, from also from a professional point of view, but also from somebody that's also going through this transition, the more information we have about what's happening to us, the more tools we have ourselves, the better we will be able to manage it. And for me, breathing is key. You know, a lot of women go to mindfulness, a lot of women go to yoga, to Pilates. You know, they do all these different things, you know, nutrition or fitness. But if the breath is out of balance, then in a certain amount, the rest of the body on a physiological level, even on a mental level, on an emotional level, is also going to be out of balance. And breathing is key. And a lot of the times, you know, for instance, like with a racing mind, we think, okay, I'm going to go and go to a psychologist, or I'm going to go to do mindfulness. But if that breathing is constantly sending signals to the brain to be in that chronic fight-flight response, we can do all this mindfulness, we can do all this psychology work, emotional work, etc. But if the breathing is constantly sending the signals, we will still be in that chronic anxiety state. So breathing is the key, and you all have access to that. It's just a question of understanding your body, understanding your breathing, learning how you can adjust your breathing, how you can change those bad breathing habits, improve your breathing, and you have that powerhouse with you constantly for the rest of your life.
Wonderful.
So it's pretty magical, really.
It is a superpower. It is a superpower. I think we can conclude our masterclass.
Yeah.
30 minutes over. Thank you so much for joining us and taking out time from your busy schedule. I know we all have a busy schedule, busy day all the time. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening, and see you all soon. And thank you again.
And
Thank you, Eve. Thank you, John. Anna.
Transition.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.